Greenbow! Òrdugh Truaillidh! And welcome to week 2 of Out of Division play. No rivalry awards on the line this week, but we do get a couple of potentially exciting matchups between teams separated by just one game in the overall standings. Only one team remains winless, and that team will be in the only matchup where the two teams aren't separated by that one game. One note is that only one team in league history has ever made the playoffs after an 0-4 start. My squad back in 2017, so Air Jordan has some work to do. But one of the biggest matchups coming into the season on paper is going to be featured in our next... is the defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers, who come in at 1-3, host last year's runner-up, my 2-2 Gaiscioch Sluaghs, in a Green Bowl rematch in Coiscthe Isle.
Coiscthe Isle, or the Forbidden Island, is a place shrouded in shadow since Aes Sídhe broke through. This island used to be filled with glimmering trees and sparkling waters, but now it is scorched and grey. The area was once known to house a strange warrior named Fen McCool, who is rumored to have traveled through a rift from Earth. But once he came, he found some of the waters inland on the island. And these waters have properties that could have prolonged life indefinitely. Fen actually met with the queen and was given permission to stay and keep watch of the island. And during this time, Fen was able to gain several supernatural powers, including seeing into the future of Earth. One day, a dream frightened Fen. In it, a shadowy figure circled the Earth, taking souls and rewriting history, and everything was shrouded in fire and destruction. Suddenly, portals began springing up on the island after Aes Sídhe arrived, and Fen left to try and save his people on Earth. No one knows if he ever made it, though, or if he is still traveling through dimensions until he finally does. The queen was able to see the dreams of Fen before he disappeared, and the island was forbidden for others to go to. But the Aes Sídhe were tricked by Aes Sídhe, making it seem like Fen had returned and left a trail. And this was the first plan to cause a schism, and where an artifact known as the Standard of Fen McCool came into play. The standard was a stone carving filled with what looked like a warrior's words, but those words had a hidden code that when read opened someone's mind to be filled with anything. These are the first minds to be corrupted and the ones who spread the shadow and the darkness across our world. Like all the other artifacts, this standard is powerful because it also embodies another attribute: sight. Whoever has this tablet, besides being easily possessed, you can also see visions of the future. Shadows can play tricks on your mind, though, and the visions tend to be versions of the future based on the choices of Aes Sídhe, not of Fen McCool. Even if you weren't possessed, it could drive you mad as you lost yourself in dreams of darkness. The Aes Sídhe were able to claim this standard and seal it under the noses of the dark forces somewhere on the Isle. But the distraction of having two powerhouse squads looking to gain back the momentum of previous campaigns could be enough to allow the seal to weaken. The Gaiscioch Sluaghs take on the Elite Mother Tuckers in a rematch of last year's championship, where the Elite Mother Tuckers won the right to be the chosen one to help vanquish Truaillidh. Of course, this is also the reason why they're here to begin with. Still pawns in the games of Aes Sídhe. And this fake standard of Fen McCool could be the 5th artifact to fall into the hands of the evil ones who look to capture our queen.
The hosts are 2 games back in the wetlands of our own division with 0 tiebreakers, while my visiting squad is a game back of first, but don't have any tiebreakers with the teams in front of me in the flatlands of Skell division. Needless to say that this is a big game to remain in divisional races after slow starts by both of us, not to mention how badly my squad wants to earn some revenge on the team that took me down for that title last year. And the computers are not only calling for a high-scoring game in this one, they are also calling for an essential toss-up, with my Gaiscioch Sluaghs only holding a 51.9% chance to win. With Justin Herbert on a bye, all eyes will be on the Justin Fields versus Matthew Stafford matchup. Both quarterbacks can easily score under 20 points, but both can also light it up, as witnessed last week with Fields and in previous seasons by Stafford. If Cooper Kupp returns, that could also be a boost to Stafford, but that still remains to be seen. Derrick Henry versus Josh Jacobs will be the battle of second-round running backs from this year's fantasy draft, and both had a bit of a breakout last week. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is also very interesting. Who will get the touchdowns this week? Michael Pittman and Gabe Davis usually do best if they can reach the end zone, and George Kittle and Hayden Hurst are both touchdown-dependent tight ends at this point. Both of us are going with running backs in the flex, with Brian Robinson getting the better matchup, but Travis Etienne having the garbage time possibility. The Baltimore defense clearly has an edge over the Houston Texans, though if the Texans do well, that could mean limited opportunities for Younghoe Koo on the other side. Nick Folk was picked back up on my Sluaghs in the hopes he can keep knocking down double-digit points as a kicker. But this leaves two players with game-changing abilities. For my visiting Sluaghs, I turn to running back Devon Achane, who surprisingly fell to me on the waiver wire before last week, despite the elite Mother Tuckers and Air Jordan picking in front of me. How did you guys miss this guy? Achane broke out in week 3 and showed me he wasn't a one-week wonder. In the past 2 weeks, he has 26 rushes for 304 yards and a mind-boggling 11.9 yards per attempt. That will clearly come down. He also has 7 catches for 49 yards, but the big stat is the 6 total touchdowns, which I would also expect to regress at some point. That's a lot of touchdowns in a short period of time. Still, the efficiency reminds me of Alvin Kamara's first 2 years in the league, when he broke out of nowhere, especially in his rookie season, and just kept going. Miami continues to score at a high rate, even in losses, with Raheem Mostert also doing well as the lead back for the most part. But Mostert lost a fumble last week and was clearly outplayed by Achane. I doubt both won't still be in a committee. I mean, clearly Miami likes to go to multiple guys, but the way the offense plays, there should be plenty of opportunities for everyone. The best thing about this upcoming week, the New York Giants rushing defense. That's right, the Giants have allowed over 100 yards and at least a touchdown to running backs in all 4 games so far. This means that holes might be opening up, and all it takes is one big play to get Achane going. If Achane can continue to shine as a rookie, then it could be a huge boost in what is expected to be a very close game. But if he gets lost in a committee and sees a big drop in yards per attempt already, then it could be the dud that does my squad in. For the home team, I look at who else? Running back Alvin Kamara. Kamara returned from suspension last week and had an insane 24 touches. Kamara had 51 yards on 11 carries and 33 yards on 13 catches. While the yards were low and there weren't touchdowns like Achane, all it takes is one big play. And Kamara saw plenty of volume and opportunity in that game. Kamara had 32 touchdowns in his first 2 NFL seasons in 21 and 2020. But he hasn't reached the end zone at the same rate in the other years, with a combined 19 in 2019 and from 2021 to 2022. The elite Mother Tuckers are going to be banking on the good times here. We do have to look at this matchup, though, and the Patriots have actually been stingy against running backs, allowing just 76 yards per game and 4 total touchdowns. But the Patriots' defense was steamrolled by the Dolphins on the ground in Week 2, and they are dealing with several key injuries that might weaken the middle of the field. This means that Kamara can possibly break into the second level more often, and we all know how dangerous he can be. If Kamara continues to get volume, does something with it, then this could be just what the defending champs needed to get back into the conversation after an 0-3 start. But if Kamara continues to underperform like the last 2 seasons, well, that could be the nail in the coffin in what is supposed to be a very good matchup against my Sluaghs. Regardless, we should be in for a good one here, and both of us might be going into this with a playoff mentality. I know I am. This isn't the only good matchup on the docket, though, through this, as we look at the matchups coming up with the standings possibly getting closer depending on what happens. In the Peaks of Valk and Flatlands of Skell crossover match, 0-4 Air Jordan hosts 3-1 Bandidos del Rio at the Caves of Bron Diomir. This is a must-win for Air Jordan, and he gets to take on a Bandidos team without Kenneth Walker and Mike Evans, who are both on byes. The Bandidos still have a 53% chance to win, though. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce look to be keys for the Bandidos to light it up against the Vikings, and the Washington defense gets to pick on the Bears. David Montgomery, Brandon Ayuk, and Stephon Diggs look to be the top players for Air Jordan. 1-3 Low-Key Lebowski Thor travels to take on the 2-2 Siamese Dreamcats, with both teams looking to bounce back from losses last week. Though Lebowski Thor is currently on a 3-game losing streak and hopes to get going again. The Dreamcats enter with a 56.1% chance to win. Kirk Cousins could be forced to throw often, but Lebowski Thor does have Justin Jefferson. Could actually be key for both sides depending on what happens. Jalen Hurts looks to be another top player for Lebowski Thor, but he will also need Calvin Ridley to score again and for DJ Shark to surprise against Detroit. The Dreamcats have tough matchups for Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb, but will look to Aaron Jones and Romeo Doubs to do well in very good matchups against Vegas. The 2-2 Multiple Scoregasms host 3-1 Green Acres in a big matchup between Peaks of Valk and Wetlands of Our Own squads. The Scoregasms hold a slim 51.4% chance to win, and the London game could loom large with Trevor Lawrence going up against the Bills' defense. A Saquon Barkley return would be music to the Scoregasms' ears, and Dameon Pierce could be a nice play with quarterback C.J. Stroud on the other side. Green Acres will look for Tyreek Hill as usual to go off, and for Kyron Williams to keep finding the end zone. 3-1 Remember the Titans hosts 2-2 the Clash at Demon Head at the Coiscthe of the Highlands, with the Clash at Demon Head looking for a third straight win. Remember the Titans has a 57.6% chance for the victory, however. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson and DeAndre Swift versus Isaiah Pacheco look to be key battles. Jalen Waddle and Puka Nacua could be big for Remember the Titans as well. Christian Watson is a very interesting play at flex for the Clash at Demon Head. We'll all be watching that one. Both defense could also go off here. Lastly, 3-1 Risky Business hosts 2-2 the Stellar Bitches, with both teams getting the top weekly score twice so far in 4 weeks, setting this one up to be a kind of a big early season matchup. But which team shows up for the Bitches this week after being the worst team for the second time last week? The computers say the former, with the Stellar Bitches coming in with a 55% chance to win. Risky Business has the big edge with Anthony Richardson and Christian McCaffrey, but his top scorer in the Cowboys defense will have to go up against McCaffrey, so that could limit points for either player. Tutu Atwell is an interesting play, but replacements will be needed for Tyler Lockett and kicker Jason Myers. The Stellar Bitches need a breakout from Bijan Robinson and for Raheem Mostert to get back to week 2 and 3 production. The defensive battle must be watched, with Miami getting the opportunity to outduel Dallas based on matchup. It will be interesting to see where the standings are following these matchups, as we will then be a third of the way through the regular season. Will everything creep a little closer? Will any teams pull away from the pack here? We'll have to wait and see. And how will the bye weeks start to make us suffer? Everyone has a week they need to prepare for coming up, maybe multiple weeks, and it sometimes leads to upsets and odd scores. We'll also be able to see real trends soon. That's the good thing, as I always feel that the statistics through 8 weeks begin to build a trust factor for projections and power rankings. And that's the show for the week! Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be getting some special Sunday shows very soon, but we will get back to you again next Wednesday as we go over these results and continue to dive deeper into our theme story as that also begins to heat up. Before you go, check out the updated power rankings after 4 weeks. Until next time, salut.